d'Azur et Saint-Tropez, Tour de France, Tour de France. Les Alpes et les Pyrénées, Tour de France, Tour de France. Dernière étape, Champs-Élysées, Tour de France, Tour de France.
Hello, and welcome back to Test Card. Sorry for that. There was a slight issue with the latency there with the mixtape, but for everyone who took part, I'll be able to send the video to you, so you'll be able to see it in full HD quality. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who took part in that again. It was another lovely experience. Thank you. Just want to say hi to Dee and Alec.
Where is Alec?
Hello.
Where is he hiding?
I am
up in the sky.
I am on top. I thought that was a good position, though. When this thing starts moving, I might be in front of a mountain or something.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be appearing kind of abstractly, kind of.
Well, there's also, so when, like, just before the start of the show, I just had like a little chat box open, and this is like just before the mixtape everything. I just had the chat box open and I couldn't see where Alex was. So when I closed the chat box, just saw him just floating in the sky, which is just like, oh, it's just so sweet. With the hello as well in the center.
It's like a couple of things have reminded me of this for some reason, but you know the sun in Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was thinking about when I was doing it. I was like, oh shit, it looks like that.
Yeah.
But yes, that was the second mixtape we've done so far. Had a great response. from them. It's like one of our first kind of things that we try to do to try and engage the community. We usually come on and chat like we're going to do today, but we're constantly trying to find new kind of interesting ways to kind of engage the community and create something interesting to platform. And yeah, the mixtape is one of our only things at the moment, but we try and do it every 2 weeks. And that was a particularly that was a out of the ordinary one, because usually the music will be from a kind of local artist or someone else trying to platform someone who's creating music in Manchester or locally, to give them a platform as well. But as the passing of Florian kind of felt the need to kind of put a classic Kraftwerk tune in there, which is absolutely banging as well. It's like that's the remastered version, but that is an absolute tune. So it was a pleasure to do that. So thought we'd kind of like chat about kind of some of the projects we've all been doing over the last 2 months, I guess. Now since lockdown started and the COVID crisis took hold of our creative industry and threw us in a new direction we weren't expecting. So I think one of the projects, I think I'll start, might as well.
Yeah.
One of the projects I've been working on is a commission for the Greater Manchester Creative Commission. And so the concept was that I wanted to kind of explore my isolated space through kind of a meditative kind of like practice through digital content. And through this kind of through this project, I've been actually learning a lot of new skills that I didn't know before. One of which is 3D modeling, which I tried to model my whole isolated space that I inhabit, and that was with using a piece of software called Blender, which is open source, which is absolutely fantastic now. It's just I've touched on it a few times over the last couple of years, but it's absolutely astonishing that program is open source and you can download it for free. I'm sure you can make donations and stuff obviously as well, and to the platform, but it just, I remember using Cinema 4D like years ago, and it's it's that and more now as well. It's got all those kind of interfaces that Cinema 4D had, and yeah, I remember Cinema 4D, I mean, I suppose it still is, it's like near £2,000 or something, or even more, I guess, if you work in the industry.
Well, that's part of it. It's also expensive. Like I remember I like trying to get into it, or trying to think to get into it, because it's like so unwieldy but so expensive to invest into in the first place. Because there's knowing what you want to use it for, and having like something like Blender, which allows people to just engage with the principles of what they're trying to do, is really impressive. Like I've attempted Blender once, or like twice technically, like once like 4 years ago when I had no clue what I was doing, then again like some point last year, and I didn't really do much. I just followed a bunch of YouTube tutorials about how to make like a flaming monkey's head, and there's like just like step-by-step guide trying to get used to it, and then I got busy doing something and I completely dropped it. But I do want to go back because it would be incredibly useful and fun to play with.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's loads of tutorials online as well because of the amount of people who use it, which is great. And the model I did was quite simple. I think I can put like a little... So before I put this on, the model I made was quite obviously kind of straight lined, so there wasn't a lot of curves in it and stuff like that. So the general concept is, kind of making planes and then expanding them and extruding sides. So it wasn't too hard, and it wasn't like super detailed, the model I did, but it was enough for me to be able to start playing with modelling and stuff, and it was actually quite meditative. It was like nice. I actually tried to do it to scale as well, so I went around with a tape measure and did it all properly with the measurements and stuff, which was nice. But one of the reasons I really wanted to use the modelling was because I wanted to export it into Touch Designer to use point clouds. I don't know if you kind of like used point clouds before.
No.
It's something that I've just like seen online for ages, and it's just like, oh, I wish, like I'd love to know how to do that. But it's basically just using the points from your model and being able to kind of, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain this very well, but it's maybe Alec will actually be able to. Do you know how to explain what point clouds is a little bit better than me?
It's basically the first when you have data, like any form of 3D data, the point cloud is the unorganized data. So like I would say when you render something in a game, as for example, like if you've seen that stage, it's come like the stage that been the sun part of is part of a like it's rendered at the full quality at the moment that you look at it. But when you go, let us say further from an object, it's just the object gets smaller in order not to, because obviously you got some issues with performance that you need to be worried about. So basically the point cloud is the rawest form of 3D data that you can get. And it could be everything. It could be 3D scan of your house, could be just something that you made. Or like obviously when it's designed with the animation software, it might be already organized somehow, but it's still you don't have any particular way of rendering it in the first place, or you may not have. And so yeah,
I think obviously it's like you could turn, obviously all those points are then can be turned into a particle system as well, that you can like add noise to and like manipulate in different ways. So I've got this little first clip of just so it's like a little kind of, so I placed the model in the middle of Touch Designer and tried to create a few cameras to kind of like go around it and then kind of explore it, because the idea is that I'd have the model, but then I'd still like to kind of control it in real time, so like I do with all my live performances. So it's about what I've been slowly kind of developing an environment which I can add cameras and change between cameras and kind of, yeah, just like a cameraman but in a virtual space, and be able to manipulate it live rather than trying to render out a scene and then throwing it into an editing piece of software. I don't know, I've never liked rendering for some reason. I kind of try and stay away from it as much as I can, but I just like the idea that I create, these are all elements which I can put in a live environment and then can control. So this is like a little example of what the point cloud looked like of my flat in Touch Designer, which is sick. And then yeah, like obviously I can change like with the cameras I was exploring what I could do and stuff, and then when I got in close I could get these like really nice geometric kind of shapes which were lovely, and I could kind of add a switch, so I'd have the different cameras and then I'd just like kind of add a switch where I can rotate between different cameras and create nice kind of like compositions over them. So this is me just kind of playing. These are all in these are just a kind of total screen recording of what I was doing.
Yeah. And it looks so cool, as you were saying, with like the geometric shapes and stuff, and then trying to read it, but also then trying to recognize it as a legitimate place which I've been in, and I understand what the environment looks like, and the translation of that all together. It looks so good. And what you can end up doing with it is pretty cool.
Yeah, I just like the sharpness of it, and obviously all those points are static at the moment, but then I think so. The cool stuff happens when you start to like add noise to it and stuff as well. Do you try and find?
Well, it's the way to model stuff more interactively, I would say, because like I would say that's what I was finding when I've been trying to create a 3D environment. It's just in the end it's like procedural tools. So you just basically you build something by defining sort of an algorithm in which you can build it, or any like it defines certain properties and stuff, but everything can be changed from there. And like Touch does, like if you include a 3D model, that's more or less what Touch does somehow. And then the good thing about it is you don't have to create something and then leave it and you can't change it. If you do it in a procedural way, you can, they would say, I want to change the color of my house. Boom, single click. It takes a lot more time to get to the point where your house is looking like a house at first place, but once you're there, it is the future, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I'm still fiddling with it, really, trying to find the right kind of like style I'd like from it. There's like a couple of layers to it. Basically, there's the flat kind of model, which I kind of like kind of break apart into particles and come back. So the idea is like it starts broken apart, and then it comes together, and then I kind of like slowly explore it through and travel through the space. But then I've also kind of like taken pictures of like different textures in the space, and then overlaid it as well. So kind of like playing with those textures and kind of like had a noise running over the textures. So I've got these like kind of nice blobs and stuff. So I'll just show you a little. So one of the other things I've done as well is try to create my first soundtrack. So that is also solely from the sounds of my flat. So like the tap running, the washing machine, kind of birds outside and stuff. And then I'll quickly show, because I'm not a musician. I've never really been a musician at all, and I've always kind of shied away from it. So one of the nice things about this kind of like lockdown is, I suppose, is that I've been slowly getting into more sound making stuff, which gives you a lot more possibilities for if you want to create environments and stuff and stuff. But the first app I got was Borderlands, which I'll kind of like bring up now. This is my iPad now running live, which is absolutely fucking sick. Like, it's just the best program ever. Like, it's more obviously, like, I'm very drawn in by the user interface from it, because it's this these are all your sound files which you can move around, and then you create these like little bubbles that go over it, and then you can control all the attributes of it as well, which is very much what we just chatted about there, of what I'm trying to do with Touch Designer, I guess. Is like, I love that ability to be able to go in and change parameters and mold it in real time, which is always like a real kind of like pull for me. So I'll just like my iPad I love it so much. Like, I just like, it's the most amazing tool. It's just like, the tools are just endless. So this is like a little inbuilt mixer which you can route different sound apps through, which has been amazing as well. So I'll just put this sound up now, just to give you a little test of Borderlands. So one of the first things is, obviously I wanted to kind of like have that meditative kind of thing going on, so I kind of got my breath, so like breathing in and out, and so I've got that kind of like in the background, which it should pop up in a minute. And then this one's like, I forgot. This is the kettle boiling. Yeah.
It's such a cool system. So when you showed us this, what's it? Just after the first show, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember that.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean,
it was either the first one, or it was either like one of the ones just before lockdown. Seeing the kind of things that you could do with it.
So this is how I made my soundtrack anyway. I'll leave that there. Borderlands. And then while I'm here, I'll just nip into Lima, which is one of the main pieces, control and software that I've used for all my live performances and stuff. And then this is how I've been building my whole system in Touch Designer for making this new commission. So I have all the noise. These are all multi-sliders to control the noise. These are all the camera rotations and stuff. This all connects through to Touch Designer through OSC, which is great. These are all where I can control the amount of points. And then this is, I kind of like also have it audio reactive to my kind of sound that I'm playing through as well. So yeah, just loads of little things that you can continue to like build and stuff. It's not the most exciting thing to build, like a user interface on Lima, it's like it does get a bit tedious, and you just want it to end sometimes. But you know, it's great to be able to have that ability to control your content, which is awesome. I mean, yeah, I'll just leave it on just one little clip of the point cloud that I've been doing. Yeah, so little taste of some of the stuff I've been working on at the moment. Sorry for the because it has been, it's been nice because last week was quite learn lots of new stuff week.
Yeah.
But it was weird how it's kind of mixed in with, I don't know, you feel like, you realise you are doing a lot, but then you realise I did just have these conflicts of interest of like, well, these like dilemmas in my head. It's like, why am I doing this? A little bit, because you just like, that's the problem at the moment. You can't see too far ahead, and I think that's really sunk in, I guess, over the last couple of weeks, or become a little bit thing that just sits on your shoulders as an artist, I guess. Is like, why am I modeling my flat in 3D and playing with point clouds? Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's just weird questions that you have to ask yourself. But it's like, I mean, I suppose, but why was I doing it in the first place anyway? You know, all these like audiovisual stuff. You know,
I was genuinely about to say, it's like everything that we do has to be put into a context of what's the point, why are we doing it, how, like it needs to have a beneficial purpose afterwards. So if that's going to be like us learning a new piece of software or us trying a new thing or whatever like that, rather than just the intrinsic artistic value of what we're creating and what we're trying to represent, that's like a weird dilemma that we have to always go through whenever we do like use up time to try and learn a new skill in it. That you need to give that value to it. But what's that value? Why is it valuable? Because you've learned something. But it's like, that looks brilliant. Like,
yeah.
it's a really, really nice and really nice way to, I think, like seeing that, exploring your environment throughout lockdown, of where it's like your relationship with your environment has now gone down to the centimeter itself, which I think people will be able to relate to in some way. So even taking away the kind of other reasons for starting it, there is definitely a cathartic element to it, which I think is valuable there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've always just been fascinated with exploring space anyway, I guess. So yeah, I mean, it is, but it's weird sometimes, isn't it? You know, the little questions you ask yourself. I mentioned to you before, I think, you know, going into June, I think, you know, there's lots of people gearing up for like society to go back to like, you know, like the bars and the restaurants and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it eventually will come back over the next couple of months. So I guess as an artist, I have to, or something, I suppose, try and seek to give some more structure to my life, I guess, and then give them some more defined goals. But, you know, you got to go with the flow, haven't you, a little bit? And I mean, I've stopped drinking for a bit, and you know, trying to be healthy and stuff, because you know, it's hard. It's hard mentally at the moment. I think sometimes you just don't. Some people, obviously, everyone's different, but I guess it just sneaks up on you. I guess the anxiety of the situation, but I guess that's what you should. What your art should be as well, is just being able for you to vent that out. And I think after, because we were talking about like our last stream, which was like a all-night stream, a couple of hours, 3 hours long, which was great. It's good. But after that, I mean, after my performance, I was a bit deflated, because just my whole setup was just like knobs and faders. And it's all right, but I felt like I wasn't connected with my work at all. And I think with it, the problem with digital art, I think, can be that you're so enveloped in this screen that you forget what it means to be able to like sometimes express yourself like very instantly. I think with like tools and stuff. So I came out of that, and I did like it in the end, but I thought it was shit originally. But then I came out, I was like, oh, it's alright. But it just shows you how you kind of mindset at the time. So after that, I just kind of went and just like bought this thing called Tag Tool, which allows me to kind of like draw stuff live, and explore that maybe in next week's kind of like live stream. Totally from scratch, and just start adding content and stuff. And I've just started drawing again.
Yeah,
drawing's been great.
It's like taken into an off digital system. I mean, it's been so interesting, because it's like kind of seeing how everything developed. Like as you were saying there about like the deflatedness that you'd receive after you end it. It's like that's something which I like have had more recently whenever I try and do things that aren't live. It's this kind of like endless difficulty of trying to export, or trying to record, or trying to create something which, when I see it, it looks sharp and clear and everything like that. Then I press the record button, and then I go back to, then I do everything I'm doing. I was like, I'm happy with all this. Then I go check the recording, and suddenly it's pixelated, or it's like chopped a bit, and it's not representative of what was visually in front of me. And it's somewhere where, like, for me, it's this kind of, I'm currently connected with the work I'm doing. I can't capture that essence of one work unless it is currently live, which I have no clue. It's just me. I'm understanding my computer itself. It's understanding this sad old laptop, and it's definitely due for an upgrade at some point. But it is that kind of, and being able to explore more things. Like when I started doing everything with shapes and stuff, like when I did MIMF last year, I got into to little globes and spheres, and then a few months later I got into the lines, and I love my lines. I'm a big fan of them. But it is the thing where that's based out of limitation of what my technology can process. When I try and go in, like even for the mixtape yesterday, when I was trying to do all the iteration work, it was all like, it was lagging and struggling so much, because it was this OBS, was it the new Microsoft Edge I used as well, because I've got an update and a new logo, like playing the music. So it was just a lot of stuff that my computer just no longer handle, and I'm looking forward to getting to a point where I can no longer worry about this. I still don't have a USB 3.0. One day I will.
I don't think
it is bump.
I don't know. I don't either.
Yeah,
Sorry, you
You
go.
don't have USB 3.0?
No.
I am still, but that's the thing. At the moment, I'm trying to figure out where I should put the end of my exploration into new stuff. Because, like, obviously, like, I can show some stuff around. As we see, like, it's funny because, like, my Basically, the sprites doesn't show the black when I'm using a different video card, which is a funny thing that I just realized before starting the stream. But apart from that, that's what I've been doing in the past week. Wait till we get a bit less messy, and it breaks. And then ask your question. Then this one again breaks. Basically what I've been trying to do with this. I'm trying to make it into a full performance environment or any sort of an installation environment. I just want to see what this will be this thing and how it will behave in general and how it will tell a story in an open environment. And that's mostly which so far I've been going up to a point that I've learned how to do the landscape design. That's a thing that I could say easily I somewhat conquered. But there are plenty of other bits such as dynamic texturing, level of detail and stuff like this, and particle systems and all sorts of it. And again, making it able to do it through life as we saw earlier, this thing it just randomly closes, which is because of basically I am using a plugin for the newest version of Unreal Engine, and this plugin is not designed for it. So I found online basically someone show us how to enable it for the new Unreal Engine, but I guess comes with the price that it wasn't stable back then, so it's probably even more unstable now. So if my world suddenly disappear, it'll be thanks to the fact that cool stuff is going that I don't know what exactly it is.
What's the thing say this time?
It says break. Wait, I'll move close, and I think I'm pushing a bit more. I need to develop it to the point where, first it's lagging, obviously, as we can see, and there are loads of bits that I'm doing wrong at the moment. So it's optimization to how much I can make it live, so I can play it in combination with my Resolute.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's a bit it's working all right, but I avoid using it in performance environments. Though I would love to be able, and I think it will add a lot more. As the Shunda was mentioning about the interactive element, it will just add a completely new layer of what I could do with this thing, and how I can engage with the audience, and how I can just build a whole piece, a whole concept, and what the digital space is about, at least for me.
And I think when I was thinking about obviously just learning new skills, before lockdown, you hit a limit with the software you can use and stuff So let's put my words right. So, for example, 3D modeling will allow me as a digital artist to go out there and model anything I want. Whereas before, I was trying to get free OBJs off the internet and then export them into Touch Designer. So that ability to be able to 3D model will really enhance my capabilities as a digital artist, I think. And then obviously, I've mentioned to you before offline that I want to try and go down and explore the coding elements as well, so I can start to build stuff completely customized to what I want, I guess, which will make it super, make me just feel like a super creative digital artist, I guess. All revolved around analyzing space and sensors, I guess. Because I've had an Arduino set sitting under my desk forever as well. So I was looking into that, and there's so many cool little things. Just so I really like the idea of biotech as well. I love trying to use technology to bridge or build a closer connection with nature and the world around us. And I like the idea of taking information and data and bringing that into an environment such as Alex is talking about, with the space and stuff that people can go into and interact with that information in new ways. And I think I definitely need the skills of coding and 3D modeling to be able to fully realize my kind of like idea as an artist, I guess. But again, that can start on a piece of paper as well, I think.
Yeah.
I think you know, being able to sketch out those designs and do like build models or like, you know, kind of shapes and designs, and then taking that and then starting to build on that with 3D modeling and stuff. I think it's nice to be able to start from an actual physical kind of like pen and paper sometimes.
Yeah. Do you think, like, considering how with everything in lockdown has kind of happened, and the way in which it's happened, everything's been like, you're inside, all your events are cancelled, etc., etc., etc. Do you think it's been, and everyone always says, "Oh, this is your time to learn something new." Do you think that in its own right has been quite pressuring? Isn't that if you're not utilizing this time to learn something new, then you won't be able to when you come out of it?
Yeah, I guess, but you know, it's not like I didn't put lots of pressure on myself anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've definitely got past the period now, in lockdown, where I realise I'm learning stuff that I know I would not have learned.
Yeah, same.
Otherwise, because I was too busy. I was just too tired, too busy all the time to be able to just sit down and do the simplest things. Just, you know, even just like simple things like making a DJ set or something, you know what I mean, and just being able to do that and just produce that. I know I never would have done it really, because I just wouldn't have give myself the time, because I would have always had the pressure on my shoulders. It's been quite interesting, just bumping into people from our block of flats and stuff. It's like, and when you have a conversation with someone that you barely ever met before, and we're quite small flats and stuff, because they just went in, they went to work and came back and stuff, and you bump into them and you've slowly had more in-depth conversations, and then you go in and you realise, I would never have had that chat with that person. I would never have had that, you know what I mean? So I think I've already gotten to a stage where I realise I'm getting into a frame of mind where I know I can learn a lot more. And a lot more kind of skills can be learned in this time. But yeah, I suppose I always put the pressure on myself, I think, is the answer to that. Because I want to learn more anyway.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, I mean, it's the kind of thing where I like to pat myself on the head if I do one little thing. So that's always okay. And like, considering that what we've been able to do in terms of like understanding the streaming softwares themselves, setting up from like when we did our live set itself, having that one singular stream itself, like often with like, this should be able to work, and then it actually working is always a really nice, satisfying thing, because it's like it's thought over the kind of idea of a way a software is supposed to work, and then being able to actually understand it. But I think streaming's the big one. I think understanding, like with Niamos and everything, like assisted at Nia TV, all their kind of things they're doing and helping program their content as well, with like the morning show and produce, like that's been in itself a role that I had no idea that I'd actually be any good at. But I'm quite happy with how it's actually ended up going. The same with like us all doing this, and then us all doing the live sets as well. It's like making this content itself. Like I'm not the most proactive, go out there, do this kind of new thing or etc. like that. And whilst like art-wise and artwork, I haven't explored loads of more. I've still explored a bunch of stuff. Like I never would have got. I've had NDI like since you suggested it, but I've had Spout on my computer for ages. I had no clue how to make that thing work at all. So I just gave up with it. But then when I finally worked it, I just like took a day last week to try and set up everything on NDI, and got it working finally. And my first instinctual reaction was like, I need to go on Microsoft Paint. And so it started going on Microsoft Paint in order just to create visuals made out of Microsoft Paint. And it was like it's just so satisfying finally being able to actually make the silly things that I want to do. That isn't just restricted to single lines. It's now lines in any direction, which is going to be great. And even a star, I did like their own little stars, and being able to change that into the pixels and then be able to make the pixels all jump and bounce. It's like that's something that's going to add so much more, for it's a new tool that I can now play with as a form of interactivity, or like making things more interactive itself, getting people to draw on Microsoft Paint whilst I set up visuals for them so that will react to whatever they draw, like in terms of color or whatever like that. And yeah, so, but I did that because it was fun. And it's like, unless it's fun, it's quite hard. And it's not that, or unless it's engrossing and quite interesting. It's like, when I was trying to do the mixtape this week, my computer was struggling so much that I just could no longer it was just like, no clue what to do next. Found out why. VLC was eating up everything. Like VLC crashed and was open in the background, so it was eating up all the memory on the computer. But yeah, I mean, there's a few things I've learned. I've learned a bunch with doing the ambient stream for our thing, and general new layering of visuals and new ways to make lines do what I want, but also more about the limits of my computer and whereabouts I can go and whereabouts I can't go. So that's been quite satisfying. Well, frustrating, but satisfying.
I think it's again, this is all in the kind of like feeling of the time, isn't it? It's like, you know, it's like there's very much, I mean, from what I've seen anyway, or kind of like got a sense of, is like being able to make your own stuff again. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like this battle in between consumer-led world that we live in, where we have to buy everything or design our rooms and stuff. We were talking like the other week, it's like, why do you always have to go and buy something to fit in your room? Why can't you just make it? Like, you know what I mean? I like, if you like something, just paint it. I don't know, it's just like being able to apply your creativity to the space you're around again, and just being able to repair things, you know what I mean? It's like that's what it really means to be human, I think, again, rather than, you know, and just having that feeling back in society is a nice thing, the makers kind of society, because we are law makers in the end. And I think just being able to go, that's what kind of like continues to drive me on. I want to be able to have an idea and then see it through to its full potential, because I know I've got all the skills. But that is also being part of that, is also being able to create a team that can like do that as well. I think has always been part of my kind of passion in the past as well. But have you felt any pressure to learn new skills, Alec?
Like, to be fair, at the moment, I think I'm going to the point, because it's obviously when it started, I was a bit confused, but I think the streaming was a lot of pressure, figuring out what's going on and everything crashes. And the whole thing is like, I got over it. It's fine. Like, I know how to deal with it, but I kind of feel the whole thing with Unreal, my exploration, like it's just game engines in general. I kind of felt it because again, I did like this is the thing at the moment. I kind of feel I'm going to a point where I need to learn a lot more in order to be able to do what I want to do, because it kind of, you know, it just made the landscape and it was finally working. I figured out a way to do it to look supernatural without using height maps from real world environments, although that's a great way to do it. And yeah, I just figured this out, and then at the moment I'm stuck with how do I make this move and how do I make this interact more the way that I want. And then suddenly there's all these new tools that's like Unreal Engine is talking about. It's, yeah, you should use this, but it's all experimental, which means that they crash all the time. And it's sort of, once you know how to do it, they won't crash. But until the point when you understand what you're doing exactly, is like, it's the thing that I figured out recently. I was just, yesterday, I literally spent the whole day just doing the smoke, making it look like smoke, and I'm like, it's just not working. Whatever I did, I just learned everything about the particle system, but know how to make my smoke work, and just tested today before with lunch. I was like, this is working. Like, oh my God, it's probably from the video card. And then it crashed, and then when we started again, it just started again. It was like, yeah, at least now I should search for a solution. So yeah, I would say it's always been a bit of a pressure when you start learning new thing, but it's always kind of goes with the time. But you need to be mentally prepared for that pressure, and I think that's what the lockdown just gave me as a sort of a bit more freedom, is that I don't feel really pressure from anything else that much. It's like it just being this thing that I'm able to push slowly and steadily.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, like when I first saw my point clouds kind of like break apart and disintegrate, it's quite like, it's just like, yes, I'm getting a little bit closer to something maybe that I remember seeing videos like 5-6 years ago of something like that and not knowing, not having a clue how that was done, but actually it's so satisfying being now and learning something right, and I know how to do that, you know what I mean? And then when you start to know the system a little bit more, it's like, oh, and then I started to realise, oh, what's it going to be like if I shift it to a different point cloud? Like, because basically you kind of like make texture maps in a certain way, like data kind of like sheets, and you can just like do a switch and make another model. And I tested it, I just downloaded an OBJ just to test it, and then it all kind of like swirled around and made the new model. And I was like, oh, like that's so nice, you know what I mean? And then imagine the possibilities with that, you know what I mean? And then you start to go, a little bit more. But
because I had that exact similar moment. It was during MIF last year when you were doing stuff for Actress, and I saw all your work from then, and it was all like was it displacey and like really going fast, and like all the feedback and everything in that like there. Now I had no clue at all how like any of that was done. Like I knew it was like there was a way of sorts, but I had no clue how it was done. It wasn't until I was doing the ambient stuff. Well, probably, but no, it wasn't that. It was when I was doing something with First Light. I was doing something with First Light for Novas for the night that we did, and there was just I added the feedback and then displays and then trails, and it finally did that effect. Of course, through different software, and I was like, hey, I now know what I'm making or what I'm doing, and the similarities between what other people are doing. I can read and decipher, and because I didn't have the name of what that was, so it was trying to work it out from there and from then, which has been really satisfying, like getting to that point, which is I don't know, happens over time.
Definitely. That's always been a drive. That's always been a kind of like thing in my life, because one of the initial things that really got me into like live digital visuals was like a Richie, I think I mentioned it, like a show that Richie Horton did. I leaded the kind of visuals, and I was like, absolutely blew me away that night. And I was like, and now I know how to use Touch Designer. And you know what I mean, the thing that he was doing that with, you know what I mean, it's it doesn't cease to kind of be very satisfying to know that stuff and to know where you come from, I think.
Yeah, I would say about like the satisfying moment of knowing something. I think is the moment. It was actually quite funny because like I did it in really quickly again for my performance last week. It's just playing with Blender and motion capture and like finally figure out how to do it and how to do the whole realistic rendering and stuff like that. Like I just look at the renders, I'm like, I'm happy with that result. But I think that was the moment of that is great. But the next thing that was I want to do the same thing in Unreal, and that's a bit more difficult. I would say, like it is way more difficult, and it's it's just purely technically it's an active area of research, which it's kind of what it drives me into it, but it's as it's not that established and it's constantly changing. You got this, I don't know, the pursuit for photorealism. I kind of feel it could go a lot more. So because I don't know, when I'm working in 3D stuff like Blender, it's like, there is super photorealistic thing that takes a lot of time and certain ways to do it, and you get your head around just to understand workflow that you want to destroy, but it's already there. While with real-time 3D, it is supposed to work, I would say 10% of the time, and after that you just need to figure out your own way to make it look as good as possible. And I can kind of see why people are driven towards realistic graphics and in gaming engines. And at the same time, I'm like, I still need to find my way to break from it, which I don't know, at the moment I find it really frustrating because I've been stuck in tutorials. Like what I've been doing in the past 2 weeks, it's just been stuck in tutorials really. But it's like obviously got the good sides of it. Like the more I get into it, straight onto it, the more ideally I'll be able to do and feel less frustrated by it.
I think I'll be trying to kind of one of the things I really want to do is, because I went to a summer school last year with on Tidal Cycles, which is like the live coding music software. And I really want to just over the next month just do something where I connect processing in Tidal Cycles, and just see if I can get some kind of cool, really kind of instantaneous like kind of thing going on, like, you know, so I can send all the MIDI and the OSC, so
Yeah.
with my music that I'm creating through like complex patterns in Tidal or something like that. So I think there's one satisfying thing with like that processing is the clarity. I think sometimes of it, it's like I just like that of color and shape and stuff. Sometimes it's quite nice and satisfying. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah. Anyone else got anything they'd like to share?
No, I think that's basically everything. I mean, like I mean, oh yeah, that was the one that I wanted us to go just go for. It was about our stuff, the kind of difference of like how, like the live show we did 2 weeks ago compared to the Calamity that we did, at the first, and it was like the kind of how that's kind of changed. Because I remember because when we were doing that first time around, because it's something that I still want to do as well, is I want to get back into like making music or doing sound design, but doing it along with visuals. That was one of it. I'd never done any audio reactive stuff before all this, that was one of the things that I'd done. But yeah, it was trying to set up the Ableton to go through Ableton with Resolume, streaming out to OBS as well, and like us chatting or whatever like that. And it was trying to get all that to work together, and trying to get back in, trying to be able to develop that, but to a place that's tighter. It's probably what I want to go in. Is what probably what I want to do next. Maybe next week. Maybe like 3 weeks. I doubt it'll work by next week. But yeah, I was just wondering, is like, how did you feel like from 2 weeks ago's show compared to what we did in that wonderful Calamity of that second true episode?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's come a long way, but it's also, as I think it was mentioned before, it's about knowing the limitations of your tools, I think, and that comes through kind of research and experimenting with it all, doesn't it? OBS has just been an absolutely fantastic piece of software to be able to do all this with. Like the whole thing of like streaming different like URLs into UBS and to like make this continuous stream. It's fantastic, and it really worked well last week. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got. I mean, I would like to try and get a little bit of a higher quality stream out. I think I'm not fully getting the best out of it yet. I think that might be down to the bitrate or something, because sometimes I think it is a little bit bitty, or it could be a little bit clearer. So just tweaking stuff like that, I think for next week is definitely going to be one of the things I'm going to be exploring in the week. Other than that, sound quality is usually really good as well. Linking people in, so I'm pretty satisfied with it all, really. I think now it's about myself, really, as a visual artist, and what I want to do, what type of visuals I want to make. I think so it's a bit so I can just have lots of fun. I say I really, really want to just have fun, rather than getting really stressed out because something's not working on a PC or a laptop. You know what I mean? It's just the most boring fucking thing ever. It's not the reason why I want to do this. Is so I can sit in front of a computer and just like be stressed out. So it's really about sorting that out, I think. It's fun.
Yeah, I've been definitely like, but that's the thing. I think there's always, because I've been working 4K, and when I project it, even when we do it with the projectors, if I'm not using like a super expensive set, I'm never going to see the things as I created them. And that's the thing. Is always I kind of got used to doing visuals. Like I think the same thing came with streaming, because it's like it's even like what I can get out of my projector is still better than what I can get out of my stream. Because my internet is not the best, and that's the thing. I just need to figure out, but like things are happening slowly. So I think soon I'll definitely have a small audio upgrades from like just in general. And then like for audio, it's like it's just been fine. Like got my head around it, although it took ages. And then yeah, I think that's the thing. The quality will be a thing that always stays. I think like I would love to push it a bit further, but it depends on a lot more things that I might not be able to solve immediately. So.
Your stuff, like everyone's stuff has really been good. Like visual, like sound and visual has been high quality. I think it's nice because there has been a clear progression, I think, in people's styles as well over the time we've been doing it, which is good. Seeing your stuff, Alec, as well, like, you know, last week on VAM, you know, it's see you kind of like exploring this new stuff, and it's quite, you can visibly see it in your work, which is nice and stuff. It was quite a nice stream as well. I thought it was quite high quality.
Yeah, but that was because we recorded live, but that was another thing because we recorded live, but then it was played. So the whole thing with that is I just basically pushed. I can record stuff at much higher quality because I'm not dependent on my internet provider. Because all I need is just I buff my like I get the audio, then I just buff my video card into recording mode, and like it seems to work. I'm not hardware wise. It's not a I don't have problem with performance, like, or at least if I have it, I need to push 3D file. Like I never tried doing stuff in 4K, but like I never did it. So like probably if I want to go in 4K and make a full performance in 4K, it'll be a bit glitchy, of course. But I like it. I don't know. It's just which reminds me, I need to scale down my textures because I'm using 4K material. I'm like, I don't want. No wonder why it's getting super slow, super fast. But yeah, anyway, it's just I would say on average when we're doing the test cast stream, I've been streaming with like as I did it completely live. Like the music was recorded, like it was had my mate recorded, but like ideally next time I will try to do a full live. Like it's all audio visually, but it can go. I think that's the whole thing. I kind of still feel there's like a lot of room to explore how to make things so they don't crash during live, because that's the aspect of that's the big problem with broadcasting and anything like just virtual production like that, because that's the term like I found it recently. It's virtual production that I've been trying to push further. Like ideally, like soon it might be able to put the game engine like soon. I don't know how soon. Put the game engine and ask people to engage with it, and then it will change, and then we'll add another layer. I think that's my aim. And in general, I've been thinking another thing that's arise from it, how we can design online spaces so they'll be actually socially engaging. But I guess that's the one for the long run.
Bit by bit, step by step. Lovely. Well, I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah, I think that's covers most of the things that we've been up to, really, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely catch up. And I guess next week we'll be streaming live with some more audio-visual content. So tune in, and thank you for anyone who's been watching, or will be watching. So try.
See ya.
Forgot which button I'm pressing.